life's dreams, and this is what you've done to me. And he was completely upset. He threw the bag. He was so tired, he wanted to go to sleep. He says, no, I don't want to stay over here even for a second. He turned around and he started walking back home. He was so upset. Again, throughout the day, he walked back and back and back and walked and walked and walked and walked. And towards the evening, again, Godhuli Lagno, my favorite time of the day, as he reaches his village and he approaches his home, his hut, and he sees his hut, and then he notices just next to his hut was this huge field with the best, loveliest strawberries that he had ever seen. Now what happens is that when we step out of a house, we step out like this. We don't know what's here. The most precious things in our lives are closest to us. What is essential is invisible to the eye. But it is important to step out. Because they say when you get too close to the tree, you miss the woods. Right? It is very important that we all journey out, we all adventure, we all discover, we make mistakes. Because it is only through mistakes we realize what is important for us. Okay? So, have you all read this book called The Alchemist? Okay? For those who haven't, I would urge you to read it. Paulo Coelho, again, a very thin, short book. You'll finish it in a couple of hours. Very interesting story. I mean, they may say big important things, but it's not boring. Very, very interesting. In Alchemist, there are two things. One is what the book talks about, that if you desire something, then all the elements in the world will kind of get together to make you achieve it, if you truly desire something. So this guy actually goes out in search of a pot of gold that he had heard, and finally gets it. But the second bit of the story, which is what I connect to my story out here, is where does he find it? He travels all the world, comes back and he finds it in his own backyard. But the travel was more important than the pot of gold. Because what he learned, and therefore he learned the value of gold. I think the way I'm going, I will cross 5 o'clock. If it is not possible, please tell me to stop. I have no problems and I'll stop immediately. I don't want you to kind of compromise on your personal schedule because of me. Philip Kotler. Within 5 years, if you run your business the same way as you do now, you're going to be out of business. Okay? So therefore, there is only one constant, which is change. Now over here, I'm going to share with you two things. One is, how has marketing evolved and how has the industry evolved? Okay? There is a concept called Industry 4.0. Are you all familiar with it? Okay, no problem. I will very simplistically try and take you through that. Industry, they say, has gone through 4 phases. 18th century was when steam power was discovered, and therefore the steam engine and all the other machines, etc., came in, and suddenly industrialization happened, and all the other people used to work with hand, etc., into existence. It automated the process, and therefore you could suddenly increase output like anything. And instead of making 1 car, you could make 10 cars in a day. The third happened with the information technology, where information technology came and suddenly it changed the way we operate. Earlier, I don't know whether how many of you are kind of go way back then, we used to write a letter and put it into courier. Then came telex. Okay? We would send a telex. Of course, STD was there, but before STD, the trunk calls that we had to make, you would pick up the phone and you had options of a very urgent trunk call, which within the next 10 minutes they would connect you, or a fixed time, and you would say like, I want this call at 8 o'clock in the night, and they would connect you between 8 to 8:30, or a free time, which could come at any time the operator felt like. Okay? Because of information technology, today we just pick up our phone, we don't even dial, we just tap this thing or just press a button and we've connected. And then today what is happening is that again, because of information technology, there is a tremendous amount of cyber intelligence that is talking to machines directly without you and I coming in between, and things are happening. We'll talk about this a little more a little later, but let's therefore, as a result of how industry has moved, this phase, the last phase, is now known as Industry 4.0. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, as a result of this, how has marketing had to evolve? Brand management, value management. Now, where we are today is known as Marketing 3.0. Again, now we were talking about Industry 4.0. It's a German kind of a phrase that they have coined. And in the US, it's has a similar concept called Smart Manufacturing Leadership Coalition. And GE have their own this thing called the Industrial Internet. Basically, what is it saying? It's saying that the factories are becoming smarter. And human beings don't need to intervene. The smartness, because of the cyber intelligence, will talk to each other, machines will talk to another machine, and things will happen. Let me give an example. Let's say you want to buy a car. Or forget about a car, what we do about laptops. You go to Dell, right? And you key in the configuration that you want. And that information gets picked up through cyber intelligence in their own internal system, and all the machines come together to give you that configured laptop. So human beings have no role. For instance, I think about a couple of weeks back, there was this news item that Amazon, you're familiar with Amazon, right? Are experimenting delivery with drones. Drones are what? Those spy planes of US that we hear that they've bombed somewhere in Pakistan or Afghanistan or etc. and killed so many innocent people or so many Taliban leaders etc. That's how we see drone. Now what is Amazon doing? So you order something from us, a drone will deliver it. That means that this guy courier in his motorbike or in his van puts all the packages and goes around delivering, that will go out. Now as a result of all this, what's happening is a marketplace in which machines offer their services and exchange information with products in real time, and therefore a shift from rigid centralized factory control systems to decentralized intelligence. Today, you go and you're a supervisor, and therefore everything is in your hand. And suddenly they are saying, I don't need supervisors. Who will you supervise? Because everything is mechanized, everything is automated, everything is cyber intelligence. So I don't need human beings to supervise. And as a result, the question comes, therefore, what is the role of a human being in a professional or a corporate world? The role will change. You will not walk up and down saying, you're not doing your work, please tighten the screw a little more, why are you late, you've come drunk again to work. No, it won't be that. A human being is meant to fulfill a much evolved, higher level of role. We'll always have a place in manufacturing because humans conceptualize, machines can't. They design, machines can't. And they determine, machines can't. After having conceptualized, I can feed in the configuration. The machine will create the output. After having done the design, I can feed it into the machine will replicate that design. After having determined that these are the rules, these are the parameters, I can put it into the machine and the machine will ensure it doesn't go beyond that. But the machine can't do, which is conceptualize, design and determine. And this is not about how tight you can this thing, but your ability to think, to feel. So therefore, what's happening is, the relationship between business and society has changed. Right? More and more of us, we are going towards organic products, whether soap, shampoo or food. Okay, most of them are very expensive, so maybe it's still not affordable. But to whatever extent, why are we going there? Because what we not only believe it's healthier for us, but we also realize that it does not spoil the environment. All these chemical fertilizers that goes into the soil, after 30 years, the soil is dead. It will not give you any output. So therefore, the business also has to have changed. Food companies don't only talk about taste. They talk about nutrition. In fact, unfortunately, I can't play it over here because my laptop has a problem. But there is a lovely YouTube video going around where McDonald's is talking to its employees on avoiding fast food. Imagine. Right? So these are the things that, I'm giving the references. Please try and see it. It will be very interesting. Companies who want to sell in India must recognize is that our future is tied to the community. This in the context because Reimaging India, there was a kind of a seminar, that's where he said it. But it's everywhere. And we are seeing this. Yes, some societies in the West may be a lot more evolved over here, and we are not. Fair enough, because we cannot afford to be. Those societies in the West who can afford to be is because they've taken all our wealth and they've gone there. That's why, they're in such a distinct position. But today they are realizing that until and unless they take care of who they have exploited, they will not be able to sustain themselves. So, even if you are saying, oh, but in Nepal we don't think like this, I would urge you to reconsider. Because when you're talking about branding and marketing, sales is about here and now. I sell this to you. You buy it and it's over. When you're talking about marketing and you're talking about branding, you're talking about a relationship. You're talking about engagement. That means you're talking about a person who comes into your category and buys a Samsung or an Apple phone at the age of 13 and at the age of 70 is still using a Samsung or an Apple product. That's the relationship you want, A. B, you want that person to use not only the phone but the tablet, the phablet, the laptop, the TV, etc., etc., etc. So you've got to keep on increasing the relationship within that person. Now, if Nepal or India today is not thinking so much about the environment and the society, my children who are going to school are very, very conscious of it. And when we go out or anything, when we are buying something, these are questions that they ask. Finally, they may buy whatever is affordable, but they are asking those questions. I think that's the trigger point. Okay, so marketing 3.0. What has marketing 3.0 done is that it's brought in a whole set of new rules, changes, game plan. It's saying the new reality is that consumers are choosing companies and products that satisfy deeper needs for participation. Today, I would imagine it's true over here also. When you buy a plan from a mobile service operator, you decide what combination you want, right? You say, I want STD, I don't want roaming, I want a lot of free SMSs, and I want, let's say, peer-to-peer within this thing, free. You put this combination, and the company comes up with a plan and says, okay, this is what you will have to pay for it. So what is happening? It's collaboration. They're not coming out and saying that I have plan A, B, and C, take it or leave it. That customers are not mere buyers, but a complex, multi-dimensional human beings. So I have to understand, whenever you look at a human being, whatever you do in your life, it can fall within 3 spheres. The way you live, the way you work, and the way you play. Whatever you do. And they're not, let's say, boxed. So, for instance, for me, what I'm doing right now is work. But for me it is play because I enjoy doing this. Similarly, look at your life. You will go home to your family. That's the way you live. You will go home to your family, to your home, and you will do your assignments, your work, and you live. You are going out with your children or your friends on an expedition. It is play and work, because when you are going on an expedition, let's say a market visit, then you are enjoying it, so there is play. At the same time, you are doing work because you are coming back with insights and understanding. And therefore, it is critical that we understand the consumer as a human being and not just as someone who comes and buys my product. And therefore, all rules of marketing is not going to work anymore. And therefore, create products, services, cultures that inspire, include, and reflect the customer's values. How many of you over here use Apple products? Any of you? Why do you use Apple product? What's so great about it?
Because I use for work.
You make the dots. Each of those ideas you would, thoughts from different people, you would connect them and then give something different. That's the hallmark of a leader. A leader is not supposed to be an expert in everything. You cannot be an expert in everything. But a leader should be able to recognize people. Okay. So, whatever I'm talking about, I think this will make it a little more clear. Marketing 1 was product-centric marketing. Then it evolved to customer-oriented marketing. Third is value-driven marketing. Right? Okay, am I going on for too long? Do you want me to stop now? Yeah? Okay. See, again, I will not go through each of these points because you will have it as reference. Let me just take a look at, what was the objective of marketing? Earlier, just sell products. Today, how can I make the society a better place? So, if you are talking about the kind of person who says, I live in a society, I want to be seen as a responsible citizen of society, then marketing will come and tell you that if you use my brand, this is how it will happen. It's like using organic products, green products, etc. Another one, look at this, value proposition. It used to be purely functional, which is, if you eat this food, you won't feel hungry. Then happened functional and emotional. If you eat this food, you won't feel hungry and you'll feel happy. And then, if you say that if you eat this biscuit, you will not feel hungry, you will feel happy, and you will be satisfied that this is made from wheat and not maida. And therefore, it is healthier for you. So that's how it goes, okay? Now, this is what kind of brings me to the next slide. This is called the integrated marketing triangle or services marketing triangle. Okay? Now, the services marketing triangle doesn't, the actual diagram doesn't have the brand over here. It has IT, information technology. What it is trying to say is that today, the company has to speak to the customer. It also has to speak to the employee, because when the customer comes to the employee for any solution, if they don't know what has been promised here, then there is a mismatch. And today, because of IT, it becomes that much more easier to do and more effective to do. But IT is the absolute proper coordination between these three, then the brand is what really benefits. Now, what happens when the management talks to the customer? As against when the customer comes to the employee. The management talking to the customer is making a promise. It says if you
Yes, sir.
No, I think someone has a question. The call center people and the sales people would come to my room and started screaming, how can you take out this ad, etc., etc. We don't know what it's about. So it happened, I think, twice or thrice. And I said, no, this is something terribly wrong. So I went to and I was pretty new. I was about maybe a month old. So I went to my boss and I said, look, this is not the right way what we are doing things. So can we have a meeting to find out, how do we make an internal communication first before we take it out externally? So what we used to do was, before a new product was announced, we would call in the sales guys and the call center people and give them a training of about 2 hours. And the ad that would be coming out the next morning. And then the sales guys would go take that ad, scan it, and mail it to all the dealers and our outlets. And the next day the ad would come out. So when the telephone calls came in to the call center, or someone seeing an ad walked into a retail outlet and said, look, I saw this ad, the retailer or the telecaller knew exactly what my proposition meant. So let's say the proposition could be the most, what should I say, relaxed, stressless mind, or the most the relaxed mother. Now, why am I calling her the most relaxed mother? I'm saying because today you can gift your child a phone and any calls between these two numbers will be free. So whenever your child is going out for a date or a movie or whatever, even at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can catch her and find out where she is and if she's okay. Okay, but let's say if I had not instituted this program and there was no training and orientation, then people would come and say, you're saying that it's the most relaxed mother or stress-free mother in the world. How is it working? And those guys would say, I don't know what you're talking about. I've just given a very small aspect of this thing. The other example that I gave you was how that airlines went about recruiting. It's not a departmental issue. If my ad comes out and says I'm the most customer friendly, and you walk into my office and you say that I want to meet Manoj, and the receptionist says, Manoj, do you have an appointment? No, I don't. How can you meet Manoj if you don't have an appointment? He's very busy. Do you think that's been customer friendly? And I've spent crores of rupees on taking out an ad. Okay? As against that, maybe you walk in with an appointment and I'm busy. How should she deal with you? She should say, oh, you've come to meet Manoj? You have an appointment. Say, no. Okay. Would you like to wait? Because I think he's in a meeting today and I will send word to his secretary. In the meantime, why don't you sit down and here is a cup of coffee. After that, if she comes back and says, sorry, he can't meet you today, you still won't feel bad. But let's say after saying, what? You've come to see Manoj? Oh my God. How can you just walk in like this? And you say, no, I'm a very old friend of classmate of Manush. That's why. Oh, is that so? Okay, let me see if I. You will meet me, but you won't feel nice about the treatment that you got. Right? So, the culture that you create, this is the culture. And have you all read about the 4 P's of marketing? Okay? 4 P's is outdated. It's 7 P's now. Right? People, process, and physical environment. Now, therefore, it is the role of the entire organization to nurture and parent the brand. May I ask for 5 people, please? I just want to show you something. What I mean by it takes a village to raise a child. 4, come please. Okay, now, just by 2 fingers, some of you may know this exercise. Just by 2 fingers, can you lift him up? Now do something. No, you do. Come here this side. Okay. Do this. And hold him under his arm. Hold him under his arm. Hold him under his knees. Here. Okay. Now lift. Okay, bring it down. It takes a village to raise a child. The whole village has to participate. Please, that's it. Thank you so much. You have to be able to. Today, it is not about how competitive you are. It is about how collaborative you are. Okay, that's one. You cannot do it alone. You need a collaboration. Second is, there is a right technique. Even if 4 of them had been trying to do it like this, it won't have worked. But when it's all about distributing the weight. Simple. You need to collaborate, you need to have the right approach. And everything works. It was all about designation. I am so and so. Designations, it is the role that you play, your contribution, the value that you bring, that is really becoming important. Competition, no. It's about collaboration. Actually, the best teacher over here is, let's look at nature. Okay? Is the sun really worried about a designation? It has a role. It says, my role is to provide light that can create a lot of life on earth. Whether I am the sun or I am the sun, I am not seen as romantic as the moon. Does it get into a, this thing like that? It doesn't. Do each of the planets compete with each other? There must be zillions of planets in this universe, and they all have their place, and they're doing their own thing. As soon as they collide, there is catastrophe. Asteroids collide, and you know what happens? The concept of management is about control. Can you control time? Don't even try to time manage. It doesn't. It's about time use. Today, maybe there is competition happening because suddenly during winter you get monsoon, during monsoon you get high summer, during summer you get whatever. Why is that happening? Because we have destroyed the environment to make it happen. That is not natural, and that's actually, I will come and I will give water, then you come and you bring the flowers and the fruit, then you come and do something else, and everybody has a cyclic time. Multitasking. Do focused, sequenced tasking. That, okay, for the next 2 hours, I will do this. You put on your slippers because this thing is cold, put on your wrap, you go to the bathroom, you take out your toothpaste, you brush your teeth, you put water. The day you're trying to brush your teeth and do something else, your teeth is either not properly brushed, to a lot more sophisticated, emancipated consumer where I just don't want a soap. I want my hair and I want a good soap that will keep the nice smell of freshness throughout the day, etc., etc. No, therefore a lot more sophisticated level of difference. I only talk about the product attribute. That I am a, what should I say? This was the only thing that they used to say. Complete plant food, 23 vital ingredients. Their press ads, hoardings had only this line with the product shot. That's it, nothing else. Today, if you look at a Complan ad in the TV, this is still there, but it comes as a small sign off. What they show is a mother who is very caring and an expert mother, and therefore her child is a champion. And therefore the brand is talking about the values, but supported, because if you say this, why should I believe you? Because I still have this. So this, from the main proposition, has actually become the support, the justification. Is this making sense? Okay. Next one. Toothpaste. I think we may have grown out of Complan, but we are still using toothpaste. Right? Simple. I don't think I have to explain anything. Even if you're away from home and you want to call up your mother, you're missing your wife, child, etc., you can control. This is the time when we came out with that, 48 hours and 24 hours. And today, if you look at IDEA, it still is empowerment, carpe diem. Okay.
Yeah.
Because let's say, for instance, one of the things that IDEA was one of the first guys to do was that even if you went into the basement, you would get coverage. So one of IDEA's strategy, if I remember in the early Vodafone, etc., had brought in, or Airtel had, they had lots of money, so they could roll out the coverage much faster. So what we did was, we said that okay, we will not go as fast as them in spreading, but we will focus on the more important towns and give the best coverage over there. So let's say there is a lot of traffic from between Kathmandu and Pokhara and Chitwan and let's say Lumbini. I'm just giving for examples. In between road, I said my coverage will be there plus minus, but in these 4 towns, I will give excellent coverage. So even if you're in Pokhara and you want to call up, someone in Kathmandu to your family, you can. But on the way, you may have a problem. That's one. Second is, I'm saying that, especially in places like Bombay or Delhi, etc., where there are buildings which have very deep basement, parking, etc., etc. If you took the lift or you went into a basement, your coverage would go up. We make sure that especially those, let's say 150 or 200 very important buildings, commercially important, where people want to make a lot of phone calls, over there the lifts and the basement had fabulous coverage. So those are the kind of strategy that you have to follow, and then you would say, oh, we have the best coverage, we have coverage anyway.
Wouldn't be wiser to specify? Wouldn't be wiser to specify that you covered such?
Yeah, no, it would. For instance, we would say that in Bombay, if you go to any multi-story building, lift or basement, you would get coverage. But if we are talking about the whole of India and we say we've got coverage in every part of India, if you look at it literally, it's not correct.
It's not correct.
What would be our product attribute? Seeking knowledge. You come here to learn knowledge. This. Should we talk about this? Should we talk about this? Should we talk about this? What do you all think? I don't know. There's nothing right or wrong. I'm asking you all. Sorry? This one? Emotional benefits. Okay. Okay, tell me something. How many of you think emotional benefit and how many of you think value? How many for emotional benefits? Just put up your hands, please. Okay, 1. Okay, how many of your value? 2, sorry. How many of your value? Okay, quite a bit.
You talk about all 4.
Yeah, why can't
No. I'm not saying don't talk about. I'm saying where should I focus on? Because typically what will happen is that, let's say, just to take your example, if I focus on values and say that, if you come here and you do your MBA, you can achieve your dream. And then I say, because we have the best faculty, we have great placement record, and that helps you to lead the life the way you want to, and therefore your dreams get fulfilled. That's a story that I will say. But I will, if there is one headline if I have to put up, or let's say a tag, sign-off line, slogan if I have to, this is one place which helps you to achieve your dreams. And then I will justify it with the others. I don't know. Stop. Statements? Yeah? Okay. Now, there is positioning statement and then there is proposition. The difference between the two is, one says, who am I? The other to a prospective employee. But a lot of other people will have similar qualifications. One of the things that I used to always ask whenever I was interviewing people for my team, etc., why should I hire you? There are 30 other candidates. What is it unique about you that you bring that, I should choose you over the other 29? And inevitably they would say, because I will work hard. So who will not work hard? Tell me, would anybody in an interview ever say that, no, I will not work hard? Or that I am an honest person? Who will say I am a bloody thief? Most of us can't answer this. Because we haven't thought, what is it that makes me unique? Sorry ma'am, what's your name? Rushi. Okay. There must be 5 lakh other Rushis in this world? Yes? Maybe, okay. 2 lakhs? Because a woman is always right. No, there must be so many other people with your same name, okay? They will be as smart as you, they will be as attractive as you, they will be possibly same age as you. Are you the same as all the other 2 lakh Rushis? Why not?
Because as an individual, I think I am different.
Okay, you think you are different, you don't know you're different. Number one. What is the difference? Don't answer me. Okay, I'm not trying to trap you. All I'm asking you is that, think about it. If you are saying I'm different, how are you different? What makes you different? Why is it that, are you married? Okay. Don't take it personally, I'm just giving an example. In a class filled with 40 very smart young guys, you will say, not those 39, this one. Because they all have one head, 2 hands, 2 legs, more or less same height, 5'7" plus, etc., etc. They all have come from very decent families, do good jobs, earning. So how is one different from the other? And then what happens is, are you still there or have you bumped out of you may go to the person because that person is very good looking. And then you go out on a date and you realize that guy is 6 foot Hulk and looks like Shah Rukh Khan or Salman Khan, but you can't sit down and have a proper conversation with that guy. You're complete duh. Right? Will you go out again? No matter how good looking that guy is. So over a period of time, we also learn to look beyond the packaging. And we look for the person who is inside. What is important is invisible to the eye. And that's how we discover. So, friends, just these 2-3 exercises that I'm talking about on your own, with your own friends, it actually helps to do it with another 1 or 2 people. Just try it out. Now, Tamil Road. Okay, on one end of Tamil Road and the other guy sitting on the other end of Tamil Road. One person's bowl was absolutely empty, maybe 1 or 2 coins. The other person's bowl was filled with notes. The first person who had the empty bowl had a placard which said, I am blind. The second person whose bowl was filled with coins had another same placard which said, it is spring and I am blind. Okay? But because you have 10 hands off, what use is it to me? It is spring, that is why you will give me, and I am blind, and that is why you will give me money, because I cannot see, you can see, because spring is a lovely time. The flowers, the girls in all their lovely dresses. It's such a wonderful feeling to be alive. But I am blind and I cannot see that. So, why buy me? Not because I am blind, but because it is spring and you are enjoying spring and I am not. Okay. If you are high on this, you have to be low on this. So, a product brand, but this is for an organizational brand. So those of you who are, if anybody from HR or having your own business or even marketing, just see if you can sit down. And there are two things that you need to do. One is, what would you like your organization to be, and what is it now? Okay, we talk.
Go through social media, I have a website.
Wow, great. I have a lot of thoughts, but when I sit down to write, they all come together and nothing gets written. So, it requires a lot of discipline, and it's awesome here. Okay, so these are the various social platform, media platforms that we know of today. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, this is Instagram, a blog, Pinterest, and this is Foursquare. Now, how would you use social media? Let's say there cannot be an ongoing exchange of ideas and thoughts. But when you do it on Facebook, you're doing it to say that, hey, do you like me? This is what I'm doing. I like doing this. Do you want to share my experience? When you're doing it on YouTube, which is a visual medium, this is how I make my samosas. Okay? So especially if you are, let's say, a lecturer, you take a clip of your lecture and you put it up on YouTube, LinkedIn, which is a professional medium. How many of you are on LinkedIn? Oh wow, okay. How many of you are on Facebook? No, there are some one. Okay. LinkedIn to say that I make great samosas. Because that's why you will hire me. My samosa, this is a pictorial, static. Looks yummy. So I've laid out the samosa, steam coming out, bit of sauce or a chutney over here, and this young guy over there. No, I make yummy samosas. Blog. This is what I experienced while making samosas. Come home and lay out everything, and while coming home I will kind of decide what I want to eat for dinner, and then go up. And if there is a, let's say, an offer going that if you attend this lecture, the next 3 lectures will be at half cost or whatever, then if I put up that offer, actually you will see that offer on if you log on to Foursquare and kind of pin it over there. So what is important over here is that when you're, did I do something wrong? Sorry. When you all are thinking of using social media, be very, very conscious of what each of these mediums can give you. It is the same as a print ad, as against a television ad, as against a radio ad. The story will be the same, but the way you say and what you can show are completely different. Okay, now this is another very interesting, and I'm coming towards the end, maybe 1 or 2 stories, if you are bear with me. Indecent is 10 years before its time. So, when I first moved out of Bangalore to Hyderabad, that was in 1998. It was the height of summer, 43 degrees Celsius, Hyderabad is, and there was a place called Tank Band Road, which is next to a huge lake, not as big as Dewa lakes, etc. You are familiar with it?
I have studied in Hyderabad.
Oh, where?
Usmania,
Yeah, which year?
2010.
Like always, my wife, my 2 kids and I was walking in my shorts. And can you believe the kind of stares that I got? Today, everybody wears shorts in Hyderabad. Nobody gives a damn. Those days, whenever I used to, let's say, either kind of seeing off my wife or meeting my wife at the airport, I would say goodbye to your wife. You give her a kiss here, right? And the airport would kind of stop. Today, everybody is smooching their wife or their girlfriend or their boyfriend goodbye. And nobody gives a damn. And therefore, what was like, well, shameless or indecent or daring? Right? It's very interesting. Was a Greek philosopher, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. In fact, here is the cave, and there are 6 prisoners. These prisoners are chained and they have to sit like this throughout. They can maybe lie down, but they cannot move from this position. And they have never seen sunlight. From birth, they've been like this, and they are now about 30 years old. And all they are doing is facing a wall over here. Once in a day, for about 15 minutes, this fire is lit, and people walk in front of the fire holding these jugs, plates, or whatever objects for the prisoners who are standing over there to see. And what they see over here are very fearsome images, as if a ghost is coming to eat them up or something like that. And that's all they know. That's all they are told for 15 minutes every day. And that is the only time when they see a bit of something which is illuminated because of the fire. Now one day what happens is that one of the guys, he manages to break his chain and runs out of the cave. The cave is a long tunnel for about maybe a couple of kilometers you have to walk, go up, and then you hit open sunlight. Now what happens when he comes out of the cave and first sees sunlight? He closes his eyes, he says, my God, what is this? He gets very scared. Imagine when we are sleeping and suddenly light comes out to us and we are familiar with light, how we react. Now imagine for a person who has never ever seen direct light. The light that he has seen over here is not light but illumination, shadows. He has not seen this fire. For the first time, he comes out of the dark cave and suddenly, boom, the sunlight gets switched on his eyes and he goes completely blind. He falls on the ground, scared completely into an umbilical position, saying that, my God, what have I done? I should have listened to those guys. I shouldn't have come out here. And as he's crouched like this, then what happens? Slowly, his senses take over. He starts feeling the warmth of the sun, which he has never known. He starts feeling the gentle breeze that caresses his skin. Obviously, he's completely naked because that's how they stay over there. And then he starts hearing the birds, the rustling of the leaves. He feels the soil on his hand, on his body, the grass. And slowly, slowly he opens his eyes and blinks and blinks. And then everything gets focused and he sees this lovely color called blue, which is the sky. He sees a bird which is green in color with a lovely beak, which flies off. And he goes mad. He says, what? It's nothing like what these guys have told me. And he goes mad absolutely, and he jumps up, he runs, he goes here, he goes there, and he plucks fruit from the tree, eats it. His strawberry, he's found a strawberry. He takes a flower, he smells it, he says, wow. And then after about a couple of weeks, he comes back to the cave. Here, if you even stand too close to a lady, both of you will be taken and whipped, right? But that does not take away the value of love, but it is practiced in a different way. Let's give another example which works generation-wise. Let's say, and I'm giving an example, my grandfather in his days, younger days, maybe would never enter the room where my great-grandfather would be sitting. He would stand outside the room and talk to my great-grandfather through my great-grandmother. Okay? And if he ever entered the room, it would be to touch his feet, and he would keep his shoes outside and go in barefoot. My father would always knock and never sit in front of my grandfather. I would sit, but I would always stand up whenever my father entered the room, and after he sat, if there was space, I would take a chair. My two children, they've taken away my rocking chair and my corner in the couch, and their feet is up on the bean bag. Hey Dad, how was the day? So I said, my day was fine, how was yours? Oh, boring TV program. Why are you watching it? What to do? Studying is more boring. And they are occupying this lovely rocking chair that my wife had gifted to me when we were still courting, which has been taken away. And then there is this couch, which is lovely, goes back, which has been taken away. But do I feel lack of respect from them? No. So everywhere, at every stage, the respect element has stayed the same. But the way it has been kind of exchanged has changed. And today, if actually my son stood up and said, yes, father, no father like this, I'd say, my God, I'm okay. I'll take him to the hospital or something like that. So I will kind of end with this now, with just one story, which is, there was a wise old man. Actually, why do wise men have to be old? They don't. Wise young man. Okay, a wise man who knew the answers to every question that you would ask him. And he lived, what was that called? Machapochri. He lived on the peak of Machapochri.
Nobody is allowed to.
No, this is why. Swayambhu.
Okay.
Okay? And then, there was this young guy, let's say what I was in my chaos, the college days that I spoke about, who always liked to challenge anybody. Says, so you think you know everything? Let me ask you a question. This guy, I didn't realize that he was Swayambhu. He knew what I was thinking. And later on I realized he knew that if he said it was alive, I would crush it to death. And if I said it was dead, I would set it free. So whichever answer he gave me, he would be proved wrong. So what did he tell me? He looked at me and he says, young Manoj, the answer is in your hand. Any questions, any points, any discussions?
I would like to thank Mr. Sen Gupta for his erudite and impactful session on grandparenting. And I would like to invite Mr. Bishop, who is the chairperson of ICA, to give him a token of appreciation and a certificate. So that, please help me. Well guys, thank you so much for coming. Hope to see you again. Thanks. Another one.